gasoline to a fire that is already raging, as trans erasure is a part of state legislatures across the country. And on the federal level, we're seeing it from Republicans too, and just like general hate crimes towards them. So
what's going on, you guys? Today we have Sam Cedar and Emma Vigeland going again on Ana Kasparian. It is not stopping. They are stomping the ground with Ana Kasparian, and they're leaving nothing behind. They're leaving no remorse. Let's get into the clip today.
And so,
Okay.
and I know you were gone yesterday, Sam.
Yeah, I think.
all right, I think did you see
sorry,
I commented on this yesterday?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
And I know she's a friend of the show, and I know that her and Emma are personal friends, and so I don't think that you need to like completely lambast someone, but I don't know. I felt like, for instance, the clipping of that with the title that she's not anti-trans was not necessarily the right. To me, it just seemed kind of tone deaf. I guess the problem I had was that that tweet in and of itself, it wasn't great, but I think the bigger context was the replies. It got very combative, and a lot of Nazis popping in, agreeing with her. Ben Shapiro's retweeting her. Carrie Lake popping in, saying, "Hey, a broken clock." And some of the replies from her, I'll be honest, were indistinguishable from something that J.K. Rowling would say.
But within the context of like her larger commentary on trans people, I don't think that's a fair critique to put her in the same boat as J.K. Rowling. And like, you can have, I think, quibbles with the way the video is titled. I didn't even know that was getting clipped, and I don't have control over any titling. So, but the substance of what I said
that's not anything about anyone that's just more of like a critique of just show formatting.
Yeah, well, let me since Emma addressed this yesterday, let me comment on it, and I will say this. I mean, in terms of and I don't want to spend too much time because this is just sort of a process thing about the titling and this and that. When the way that we do this show is we do the show and then another person clips the show. Now there's on occasion I'll say like, oh, somebody really wanted this phone call or this and that, and I'll send a message. But part of the reason why we do that is because I don't want what we do on the show to be dictated to how I think it's going to do on YouTube. That to the way that I.
We have the caller saying, you guys need to keep going. You guys need to go harder. You guys really need to continue to just peel into her. We have people like Ben Shapiro agreeing with her. This is a problem. This is starting to be a real problem. You guys cannot afford to go easy on her at this point.
I can insulate the show from like sort of chasing clicks. That's the way I do it. I think that the guy who clips the show, sometimes like it's his job to sort of get clicks. And so he may do that in different ways. So, but that's aside, that's a second order thing. Here's my feeling. And I will also say, I didn't read into the whole thread of that because I was literally constantly moving yesterday. But look, I don't have any reason to believe, based upon her commentary in the past, that Anna is anti-trans. But tweeting out something like that, in my estimation, is the tweet itself, the act and the tweet in this context, right? Is an anti-trans act.
Make sure you guys like and subscribe for more content like this.
Things, and people should do their best. I mean, I don't have a rule about it on the show, but for me personally, I always attempt to say, if we're talking about abortion laws, I try and say women and people who can get pregnant. As just because it costs me nothing, and it shows respect to people out there, and particularly at a time where there are people who are under assault for being trans. There are families who are under assault for trying to get their kids some type of medical care, in some way, gender affirming care, or to deal with this. And it is particularly incumbent upon us to show that level of sensitivity to the people who are impacted and to this moment. And so, I just thought that the tweet itself, and I don't know what her intentions were about it, but the idea that saying, semen providers, in any way, and look, I will say, saying semen providers, I don't think disregards my manhood in some way. I understand that, though, that it's not a perfect analogy, because the fact is that women have been subject to misogyny and to sexism, and men have not. There's a different power dynamic. Nevertheless, I don't think that in any way women are in any way harmed in the sort of like society's consciousness by
And he's saying all of this stuff, but we really know what he wants to say. He really wants to tell Anna that she is not right, that she is, that she is in the wrong. That why are you saying this about, people are, he wants to say that she's anti-trans. Why, that's what is going on with this whole situation. This is how it all started.
the use of things like, people who can get pregnant.
Yeah. I mean, I think you said it right, Sam, and I elaborated on this yesterday. I think it's perfectly valid to say in your personal life, like, I don't want to be referred to in those more clinical kind of stilted, awkward terms that are inclusive language meant to be inclusive, and we're still incorporating it into our language. It's not that many years that we've been using this kind of terminology. I think that's entirely fair. My critique was, well, as a member of the media, you have to understand, and at least this is what I try to bring to it, is that you're not just speaking for yourself, and putting an emphasis on that in this current context is going to lead to larger problems and adding gasoline to a fire that is already raging, as trans erasure is a part of state legislatures across the country. And on the federal level, we're seeing it from Republicans too, and just like general hate crimes towards them. So that was my emphasis, and I understand if you didn't feel it was sufficient.
And she's completely right. Trump is passing all of these new laws now to saying, okay, well, there's only two genders. He wants to have the one flag policy to where, we get rid of any type of ally flags at all. He is really wanting to turn it into something that is, not inclusive whatsoever. He does not care about anyone else besides himself. This is an extremely selfish thing, which is why Emma brings up such a great point. Emma Vigeland is wanting to make the point that we have to stick up for others. We have to look out for other human rights, And Ana Kasparian, obviously doesn't feel the same way. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. It's another day in the progressive way.